Before we get into the weeds of talking about audience analysis, I want to go into a little more detail about why this is valuable to you. We talked a little bit about it in the introduction video, get kind of a bird's eye view, but let's go into some detail and I'll give you some bullet points. Because if you're a technical person like I am, and I'm just going to use the word engineer from now on. If you're not an engineer, you're an academic or whatever, please just translate. It's easier for me to just use one word. But if you're an engineer like I am, you'd prefer to be doing your job with your skill, whatever that is, building, implementing, right? Going through your projects, etc. Why spend time on this? Or if you're managerial and you're thinking, why would I take my engineers off what they're working on to do something like this? Again, let me give you a few bullet points as to why this is valuable. I've divided it up into non-technical audiences and then your peers or technical. This isn't a perfect way to do it. I thought lots of different ways to attack it, but since we're still at the beginning and there's just sort of this ball of chaos, this is the easiest way to think about it for now. Okay? First thing, it will make your project outcomes better. Period. Okay, that is going to be true for both sides, and that's hard to overstate the value of this particular one. You don't work in a vacuum, right? That job where somebody comes to you and gives you a big pile of money and says, "Here you go, work on whatever you want." I don't care what it is. I don't care how long it takes. If you abandon it, well, whatever. If you go for a while and then you decide you made a mistake or you want to go in a different direction, that's okay too. When you're done, let me know, and maybe we'll try and sell it. Maybe we won't, whatever. Okay? That job doesn't exist. Maybe it does. Maybe there's a Tony Stark out there that's financing something like that. But if you're watching this video, you don't have that job. And I've never heard of it, right? We have to work with people. We have stakeholders. And the projects are not just dependent on us in a vacuum where there's no communication. Okay? So, misunderstandings, I'm going to put that here first. Misunderstandings will happen less often. Okay, again, you are working with stakeholders, and so often these business people, whoever they happen to be, clients, they're going to have little to no technical experience in your particular area. If you can communicate effectively the assets that you have, maybe the assets that you need, the obstacles that you face, liabilities, maybe you need permissions, maybe there's other people that need to weigh in, and you can communicate that effectively, these people, they are just as invested in the project as you. Just because they're not making it or just because they don't have the technical experience, they care maybe about other aspects of it, right? Performance, does it work? How much does it cost? When will it be done? But they care just as much as you do. And so if you can communicate effectively with them and get away from the misunderstandings that happen as a result of technical jargon going over their head or being too dry or whatever, they can help you with your timeline. They can be a champion for you to fend off maybe bosses or noisy clients. They can help you in so many ways. Misunderstandings, they cost a lot, they create anxiety, and they create bad product. Okay? Let me give an example of these last two, anxiety and bad, because those are two things that I particularly hate. The cost, I don't usually care as much about that, other than the people I'm working for do. But anxiety and bad product. I worked for a company where we had a single event, and we put so much time into getting ready for that one event, like months and months of prep every single year. And I had a big ticket, right? A task I needed to accomplish, and we talked through it. And I thought, we communicated well. There were several people involved, project managers, design teams, several different bosses, and so on. And I finished it. At least I thought I did, right? And I was getting ready to push it out to QA, and I put it off for a while. And then my boss came into my office about a week before our war started, right? The big event, and said, "Hey Rob, where's this at?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just about to push it out to QA." And she said, "Well, can I see it?" So I demo it for her, and she said, "This isn't right, Rob. It needs to be able to do this, and it's doing this wrong and this." And I said, "What?" She repeated herself, and I said, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Yeah, this all has to change. It has to be done by Friday." And I said, "What?" I can't do that by Friday. She says, well, it has to be. Big shot executive said it has to be done by Friday. And I'm thinking, okay, you want me to hold my breath for 3 weeks? You want me to walk to Mars? I can't do that. And she walked out of my office and said, figure out a way. And I did. So first of all, if this is time and this is anxiety, right? We have this big event right here. The anxiety level naturally is going to go up as we get closer. Mine went like that. Okay? So my anxiety level went through the roof. And so I worked 16-hour days for the rest of the week. And I did some of the most unholy things, the most evil programming stitch work anyone has ever done to get it done. And I did get it, right? So we'll say we capped off there when I actually finished it. Okay, and the business people were thrilled, right? Great job, Rob. Oh, Rob can do anything. I set a bad precedence. What they didn't know is I felt so terrible about it. It was a disgusting product that I was not pleased with because I had to do it under crazy pressure, right? Anxiety, and in a really horrible time frame. And it all came about as a result of misunderstanding. In this case, there were technical misunderstandings about what I thought the person wanted, about what I thought the ticket was supposed to be doing, and so on. And yes, your methodology, maybe you do agile, and maybe you think, oh, Rob, we would have had a sprint here, and one here, and one here, and one here, and we would have caught it. It wouldn't have helped in this case. So misunderstandings, they create anxiety and they create bad product. And as engineers, as product people, as technical people, I hate creating something that I'm not proud of. Let me clear this up real quick. Another thing that this will do is with your stakeholders, it will create more engagement. And so by that, I don't necessarily mean less misunderstandings. I mean more like they want to talk to you more often. If you come across as standoffish or rude or arrogant, right, they're simply going to avoid you. You go into the closet and you make your thing. I don't really want to talk to you. On the other hand, if they feel heard, if they're learning from you, if right, they've worked with 5 other engineers of the past year and everyone has made them feel bad, but you make them feel good, that engagement is going to create better projects. It's going to make you the superhero engineer that they love to talk to, which is going to create, again, better timelines, right? So less anxiety, and it's going to drive down cost in a big way as well, which everyone is going to be interested in. You'll have more budget to work with, your manager will be happy, etc. Let me share another example with you kind of on the cost thing. I had a project that was going to take 4 months. I did it by myself in 3 months. I was really pleased, right? We had the same process, agile, project managers, design team. I didn't talk to the client very often, communicated everything, and then I pretty much went in the closet for 3 months. And I built it, and I was really happy with it. Everybody internally knew what was going on. And then we meet with the client, and we demo it, and the client says, this changed, and the user authentication system, it doesn't matter why, but that's different now too. And so we need to scrap this whole thing. We need to start over. And it was a disaster because I had 1 month now to do something that's supposed to take 4 months. So I had to bring several people on my team in to help me finish it. And that cost was passed on to the client, and some of it hit us. And so that was a horrible annoyed client as well as an annoyed managerial staff that should we have been more engaged, that wouldn't have happened. And if there could have been more technical communication in an appropriate way, again, avoiding the misunderstandings is a big part of it, but just talking instead of being in the closet, better project, better results, less, in this case, huge waste of time and money. Just a couple other here that I'll put off to the side. This allows you to go global. Okay, if you're able to talk with non-technical staff, you're not limited to your own, say, culture, or maybe your own, maybe you're dug in politically, culturally, demographically, whatever. If you're able to transcend some of those barriers, you can get outside of your tiny little arena and become significantly more important, more valuable to the company as a person who can communicate across international boundaries or, whatever technical boundaries, etc. Naturally, you will have higher client satisfaction. Kind of already talked about that. It is just the opposite of the other ones there. I'm happy to say that I have lots of examples of this one, but there's no reason to share them. Thankfully, a lot more than I could think of those. all because, right, if you get things across, the clients will be so much happier. That knowledge transfer, a lot of times if you're working with regulators or you're working with someone who has their own technical team in another department or another client, that knowledge transfer can happen effectively. There's also opportunities for promotion that otherwise wouldn't be available to you. I've worked. I could think of two very specific people, but I'm sure you can think of them as well, where engineers tend to get promoted one level too high because they're good at their craft, but they're not good at this, and so they get into a position, a managerial position, or something where they're just simply not qualified. And again, I thought of two people that had to be moved off into kind of their own little world because they didn't have the soft skill communication required in order to go higher in the company. Thanks for being loyal. Thanks for being a great engineer. We don't know what to do with you now. If we hop over to our peers and to our technical, in addition to the projects being better, you will have more creative and innovative solutions again, period. As of the making of this video, the war in between remote and in office is still going on wherever you fall. Just as an illustration for this, one of the biggest companies, one of the biggest tech companies, their CTO came out and said, "I will pay double for two in the same office engineers as I would otherwise, right? Even if I could say half by going offshore or too remote or whatever." And he said, because the creative and the innovation that comes from having two people in the same room that can talk through problems, right? The problem solving is so much better because they can bounce things off each other. It is worth whatever the price is. It pays back exponentially. Okay, that can't happen if you can't communicate with each other, if you always talk around each other or you don't explain things, etc. As I said, I've had engineers that were fantastic that my desk was right next to this person and I didn't want to talk to them, right? That obviously can't happen under those circumstances. Another thing that benefits significantly is going to be documentation. Okay, I don't love writing documentation, but I do love it when I work on something. I put it away for 4 months and I come back and I read the documentation that I wrote with somebody else. It's clear, it's succinct, and I can pick up where I left off in 5 minutes, right? On the other hand, if I don't do that, if I do it on my own and I scribble some notes out that make sense to me in the moment, usually that means when I come back to it, I got to spend hours and hours trying to figure out what on earth was I doing? What does this comment even mean? The documentation will be better if you are working with somebody else, one of your peers, talking through things as opposed to doing it by yourself, no matter how good you are. You will have more influence and your reputation will go up. These kind of go hand in hand, but your reputation as a developer, as an engineer, as a researcher, whatever it is, if you're known as the person to go to when you need to understand something or when there's some technical detail over here or on your own team, either way, you will gain awesome from that. That is a good person to be. Likewise, influence on your own team. If you are someone who can get ideas across, who comes across as empathetic, who can always explain, who documents well, loves to be creative and innovative with other people, you will be that person whose ideas float to the top with your own team. Whenever you want to make a suggestion, it will always get the traction, the most traction, the quickest. And then lastly, and this again goes for both sides, but your time efficiency will go through the roof within your own team as well as with non-technical people because everybody understands things, right? Time efficiency translates to cost, translates to better product, translates to less anxiety, right? Again, the chart here where we had anxiety here and time here, if it's going like this, that's bad. If you can keep it level, right? Time efficiency creates less anxiety, less cost, less everything. And that happens as a result of communications being clear because misunderstandings, all of this stuff works together to create good or bad, so much dependent on how well you are able to communicate.